Welcome to the Startup Grind.
So Vincent, what takes you to Startup Grind?
Oh, it's the best place to meet like-minded people who love startups. Peace.
Thank you, Richie, for the excellent opening, and I would extend my welcome to Todd. And so, Todd, it's good to have you here. And well, to get started, can you tell us more about yourself and how you became director of the China Accelerator?
Well, I came to China first time 2007. I came to study Chinese. I was not prepared, I think, mentally to live in China, potentially live anywhere other than where I was from Canada, near Vancouver. And so I didn't really enjoy it here, but you know, when I came back the second time, I knew what I was getting into. I was much more prepared. I just had no job and I had nothing to do. But it was 2008, and the economy was terrible. I'm just trying to keep my language appropriate here, you know, you know, I realized that China was probably the better place to be. So I came back. I ended up meeting an American guy who was about to start up an English magazine, and I thought it was a good idea. You know, we worked together for a few months, and then I invested my own money, and then he spent it. And he bankrupted the company, so I kicked him out of the city pretty much, with some help of some Russian friends who are very large. And then I talked to the staff. I encouraged them to stick around. I went out, I found a Chinese partner who had a license to produce a magazine, because anybody in media knows that a foreigner is not allowed to own any part of a media company here in China. So I had to have a silent partner do that. And then I raised money with from some Americans who were working for Intel at the chip manufacturing plant in Dalian, which is where I spent 5 years. And then the company went really, really well. We did great. We became cash flow positive after about 7 months, and then the Chinese partner stole the company, so I lost it again, and then I did some other things, and then I started up a logistics company, and that I just learned I didn't like logistics. It was really the only thing it taught me. But at that time I had met this guy named Cyril Ebersweiler. And Cyril was working for a Japanese company called eGraphics, and he had come to start it and bring the company into China, and he was in Dalian. And he was, you know, so we would hang out and drink beer and play video games. Then he told me he was going to join this fund, and he was going to start an accelerator. And I had no idea what an accelerator was, but I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So he went to Boston, and he was at Techstars for 3 months as kind of an entrepreneur in residence. And then he came back to China after, and started doing China Accelerator. And he asked for my help. He said, "Well, you've you know, completely failed at being an entrepreneur. Come and teach these guys, you know, everything that you learn, and help be a mentor in the program." So I did, and I did that, you know, for 2 programs. And then, you know, Cyril started Hackcelerator, which is in Shenzhen. It's a hardware accelerator. Everything just started going crazy. Everything was really busy. There was so much stuff to do, and he called me one day. He said, "So, how's your logistics startup going?" And I said, "Well, it's shit. You know that. I told you all the time. I complain all the time. It's terrible. I hate it." And he's like, "Good. Glad to hear it's still going so badly, because I want you to come and work for me and take over China Accelerator for me." So I came in. I was program manager. He promised to help, and that didn't really happen because he was so busy. So I generally had to take it over myself right from the very beginning. So we've done 2 more programs since then. And then I recently became a partner and program director of China Accelerator, and we recently moved it from Dalian to Shanghai.
Okay. So can you tell us more about how China Accelerator is set up and the role of SOS Ventures?
Okay, so SOS Ventures is our backer. They fund the program. Now, in regards to setup, do you mean like the financial vehicle behind it, or actually how it runs?
Yeah. Anything that you feel appropriate to discuss?
No, I mean we have a woofie, we have a yearly budget, and SOS Ventures, provides the money that we put into the Chinese bank account, and we operate within that budget.
Mm-hmm. So can you describe the program in more detail, and how do you compare your program to the US equivalent like Techstars or Y Combinator? Okay,
well, how many people here know what an accelerator is, really? Okay, so a few, probably some more that just didn't want to raise their hands. Late. Or an incubator. Who knows what an incubator is? Okay, have you heard of Innovation Works? Innovation Works. Kai-Fu Lee, Innovation Works.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, or Lee Kufai. Lee Kai-Fu. So an incubator is an incubator gives you money and office space. Okay, and they may promise to try and help you and give you some mentorship, but it's not a lot. It's mostly money and it's mostly office space. An accelerator is much more intense. It's a pressure cooker. It's a boot camp to either force you to survive or die with your idea. We're not trying to waste time. We don't want to waste money. We don't want you wasting time. You come in, you have 3 months. We will give you all the help you need. We'll give you just enough money to survive, not more. We're not investing cash into you. We're investing time and energy and knowledge and relationships into you. We will provide you with lots of mentors. We will guide you on how to build your company properly, what to focus on to be efficient, teach you lean startup principles, how to build an MVP, how to go to market, how to test it, how to iterate, in 3 months you will know whether you have a potentially investable, scalable company, or you've got a lemon that will just suck all your time and money and never really go anywhere. And it's good to know that as well, because then you can immediately leave and go try and start something else that will be much more valuable use of your time. Every week we run through, we have meetings, we do webinars, we bring in mentors, we have certain talks and chats and sessions and things. There's milestones. There's a lot of fun. We have a good time, but it's focused group. It's only 10 or 12 teams. Now, you asked about the difference between and how it relates to a Techstars or Y Combinator.
Yeah.
We're very much like Techstars. Okay, this is the model that we like. Techstars, but we're very focused. Okay, Techstars has ballooned a little bit. They take a lot more teams now, and a Y Combinator, we're not like that at all. Y Combinator is well, because Y Combinator simply is just a different model. They are money and access to mentorship, but not office space. You kind of live wherever you want to live down there, but they have maybe bi-weekly alumni and mentorship dinners, but that's kind of the extent of it.
And demo day?
And they have a demo day, yeah. So that's pretty standard for 500 startups, Y Combinator, Techstars, there's always a demo day. So that's it.
I look at what you did and your experience, and I compare that to Kai-Fu Lee, and who is, he worked for Microsoft Research China or Google, and he's a programmer some kind, and program himself is a programmer. But why do you think you're qualified to run program like that? I mean, you have any technology background, and why is it you consider yourself a good fit for the role by SOS Ventures?
So understanding technology is completely unnecessary if you want to start a company. Understanding how to start a company is necessary for starting a company. Understanding what you're getting yourself into is more important. Having the right entre philosophy, and you'll know some of you I've talked to before, I've been throwing that term around, trademark, by the way. Having the right mindset. I don't care, I mean, you could be the most brilliant coder, and you wouldn't have a clue how to start a company. All you know how to do is code. That has nothing to do with starting a company. Being somebody who understands technology means great. You're very hireable. Somebody can hire you to do technology. But starting a company is understanding a hell of a lot more, like business and legal and sales and marketing and human resources, finance, just a million other things, and how to be a good leader. That's. I hope you're asking that question tongue-in-cheek, because I know you better than that, and you know that actually has nothing to do with being a good entrepreneur.
Well, it has some, but I did
Very
agree
little.
or disagree. And like in today's business world, and a business idea will, when you judge how it scale up, it's heavily relying on technology, particularly the software technologies. So if you're not having this kind of background, how do you pick companies? How do you ensure that this company is going to scale?
It's got nothing to do with the quality of with knowing technology. And do you know technology? Are you mad that I'm dissing you right now?
No. There are differences between knowing what and knowing how. I mean, I think that as somebody who can pick a startup, he should know what and the significance of certain technologies. That would certainly help you in picking the right company that can scale and to make sure that they can leverage on that technologies.
No.
Why?
Why are you wrong?
Yeah.
Because we're talking about building a company. And building a company comes from people. It comes from hard work, it comes from hustle, it comes from a lack of ego, it comes from being a leader, it comes from understanding a market and being an expert in that market. And I can hire somebody like you to do the technology for me, and I can build a great company, but I don't need to know it. I understand the people. People who are purpose-driven build great companies. They hire people to do the technology for them.
Okay. So, talking about what is the reason that you choose China, to run the program?
I didn't.
So
remember my story from earlier? Okay. Cyril started the company here.
Okay.
I came in halfway through.
Okay. So
Cyril started the company here because this is where he met Sean O'Sullivan, who was the managing director of SOS Ventures, the fund. Those two met in Dalian, and I think due to the fact that Cyril already lived there, already had relationships, already understood the city and whatnot, and the whole goal was the whole division of why China Accelerator was done here was to take advantage of the growing market, the opportunities here. And originally, the idea was to help foreign companies or foreign startups come into China Accelerator to go after the Chinese market. And that was ridiculous, because it was a terrible idea. Because you know, the Chinese market is so completely different. It's a different animal completely. And if you're not Chinese, it's very, very difficult for you to do something very successfully in China. You can't raise money if you don't have a Chinese co-founder from Chinese VCs and angels, because they just won't. There's too much of a cultural difference, and we can talk about investing and why people invest and what they look for when they invest, but a lot of it is the relationship and the comfortableness. You know you're getting into bed with somebody for a long time, for 5 to 7 years, and there's just too much of a cultural gap there. So almost entirely Chinese VCs and angels will not invest in foreign startups.
Okay, so regardless of all this, it looks like Accelerator and China Accelerator is still running, so there must be some benefits. So what are the benefits of running all the program in China specifically?
Well, first of all, there is a lot of foreigners that are also in China doing startups. But we changed the model a little bit because what turns out to be our competitive advantage here is that we can help startups go global. And we can help Chinese startups take their company beyond China, especially into Europe or into the Valley, which is very, very difficult for 95% of VCs and angels, and either incubators and whatnot. They don't have international resources. They're very well connected with a hell of a lot of guanxi within China, but that's it.
Okay. So yeah, I'm also curious about the kind of category or industries or kind of products that you're going to fund, and what are your philosophy of judging and picking company to invest?
People.
And what about the categories of the industry that they're targeting? Or?
Yeah, we kind of like software, component to it, but we're interested in great entrepreneurs, and we're interested in getting closer and tying ourselves to great entrepreneurs. Great entrepreneurs will find a way to make a company that is scalable and investable. It's great if you have some technology component, because a lot of our resources and our network are built with that advantage. So they can provide a lot of expert advice and interesting. But no, I'm generally people hunting more than anything else.
Yeah, can you elaborate or break that down a little bit more? Because I'm not happy with your answer. People, I know people, but what are the philosophies underneath it? Can you expand that in more detail?
It's their philosophies. It's for instance having an unfair advantage. Okay. Maybe you want to do 3D printing of golf heads, golf club heads, or something like this, and you've been working in the industry for a long, long time, and you understand it. Maybe you want to build in the oil and gas industry oil reservoir visualization software, and you actually have been an engineer working in this industry for 10 years, struggling with 30-year-old software that's never been updated, and you get so fed up that you just walk away from the job saying, I'm just going to build new software because I'm so tired of using this crap. The other thing is passion. Okay, you have a purpose. You're not doing it because you want to be an entrepreneur. You don't say, I don't like having a boss. I want to work for myself. Crap. Don't ever say that to me. You like, wearing flip-flops and a cafe latte and taking your dog to the office. Okay? Crap. You do it because you want to make lots of money. Crap. None of that makes you a good entrepreneur whatsoever. You are creating an app that people can donate air miles to that you will use to provide cancer patients the opportunity to fly for free using those miles to get really important to you. That resonates with me. That is something that I believe in, because I know that down the road there's going to be a lot of long nights, and being an entrepreneur is way more difficult than most people even begin to understand. There are so many things that will go wrong, and it will go sideways on you so fast. You'll run out of money, you'll have team members quit, you'll have your parents pressuring you to get a real job, there will be a million and one things, and it will be almost impossible for you to continue unless you have the passion. Unless it is absolutely important to you to be doing what you're doing because you're purpose-driven to provide a solution that will make people's lives better. And that is also investable, because VCs and angels typically come from an entrepreneurial background, and they understand how difficult it's going to get, and they have very little to trust at an early stage other than that passion. And if you are devoted to that, you've built a great team that have good experience, good education, have an understanding of what it's like to be an entrepreneur because they've tried to start a couple companies before. That's great. I care a lot less about your actual product or solution today. I care about what it's going to become, because the evolution of it, and who's driving the evolution of it, and who's making the decisions of which data set to listen to, that is all much more important than what I'm looking at now, because I know it's going to completely change, and it's going to look very, very different 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah, terrific. So, according to the Kaufman report, in the VC world, there's a majority of all the investments in early stage, they just simply go south. So why is still a good idea to run incubators like China Accelerator?
Yeah.
And who is benefiting the most in this entire game?
Yeah, doing investments is it's incredibly risky. The returns are not great. I think a lot of VCs are interested in doing it because it's fun. I mean, they're gamblers. Gambling in general is you often lose, but it's just fun. So they like to do that. There's I think being interested in technology, or having an interest in games, or with hardware, or things like this. There's the reason. I mean, when Cyril joined, the whole point was to invest in early stage tech startups here in China, and then it was like, how do we do that? Because the statistics are horrendous. It's an awful idea to do that. So from the point of view of the fund, of why do China Accelerator, was to reduce that risk. We take 150 or 200 applications to the program. We choose the top 10 or top 12 teams, and then we work with them for 3 months, because the vetting process for a lot of VCs is very small. You get a few meetings, a couple of dinners, some market research, and then you decide to do it or not. That's pretty risky. We're trying to reduce that risk by spending 3 months of quality time with each startup, and
Which
with
you
the
had
people.
a FaceTime schedule with all the members.
Yeah. It's weekly. But I mean, I'm in the office every day with them anyway. They just walk over to my desk and bother me all day long, all week long. Which is fun. But I mean, I'm analyzing their behavior at all times. Whether they know it or not. I just measure their email response, their response time, the language, their attendance in sessions, their punctuality, their professionalism. We're looking to continue investing in companies beyond the program. We want to invest in your Series A and your Series B, and so on. So it is a very attractive thing going into the program, knowing that there's a VC fund that you're working with that can back you all the way to an exit. But you know, we're kind of sitting there going, you know, we want you to be a $100 million company. Are you fit to run a $100 million company? Do you strike us? Do you look like, and do you act like, and do you learn and hustle like somebody who can run a $100 million company? Because if you don't, that's going to give us pause. We're going to be a little bit concerned about whether we may need to replace you as CEO in the future, which is not ideal. So, yeah.
Yeah, you remind me that you know, look at all the Chinese staff and Chinese founders here, and all of them that you met. What are the, you know, bad sides, or what are the, you know, personal traits that are typical of Chinese founders that you find that are not fit to become a, you know, the guy who run a $100 million company?
You know.
Yeah, don't be shy. We have all the Chinese entrepreneurs here. It's better to tell them what are the bad things that you saw, you know, in places.
Okay. Oh, there we go. $100 million question, really. Okay, so did I tell you to ask me this? I can't remember. Okay, guys, China. Okay, very, very difficult place to grow up to be an entrepreneur. Okay, and there's a lot of factors that are typically working against you being a good entrepreneur here. Okay, one of them is obviously the pressure from your parents to get a stable job and get a nice, secure job. They invested a lot of time and money into you. They put you into a university and paid for everything your whole life. You didn't ever have to get a job, you didn't have to do anything. They wanted you to get a nice, stable job. When you leave university, or you decide to quit your job to start a company, they're not going to be very happy with you, okay? And in America, we generally don't give a shit what they think after, you know. But in China, it's very different, okay? You have to, for the time being anyway. The other thing is, you're not raised well to become good entrepreneurs because you haven't been allowed to make mistakes, okay? You haven't been allowed to get a job in high school. You don't have a good understanding of how business works. You've never had a boss. You've never had employees or managed people. You've never really managed money. You've never been in debt. You've never worked to buy something. You haven't even chosen what you're going to study at university. And then you're going to do something that you're probably going to fail at least once, probably twice, which again, you're not accustomed to failure. You're not accustomed to it being okay to fail. It's not really a call. You guys almost need to raise kids and allow them to take time away from studying to get a job, understanding that the lessons they're going to learn from actually making some of their own money, whether it's washing dishes at a restaurant or delivering pizza, working for Sherpas in Shanghai or something. I mean, you know, these are all such valuable lessons, but right now you're kind of conditioned. You're taken away from being able to make mistakes because you're not given the option. You're not given choices. And without being able to make your own choices and make bad choices and learn from them, you know, you're somewhat risk averse. And your parents are definitely risk averse because of everything they went through 40 years ago or 50 years ago, when their whole world was turned upside down and everything changed and then it changed back again. They don't really trust that everything will be stable, so they want security and stable. That's very important to them, and you have to respect that because of what they went through. But I think it's difficult. Trying to be a hustler and not being afraid to fail. Taking an imperfect product to market early, knowing that you're going to get beat up, but doing it so that you can get the feedback and you can get early adopters that will grow with your company. You know, that is all very, very important. And I think in general, not for everybody, but in general, for Chinese young people right now, that's still a very difficult thing. Still a very difficult thing to be able to do.
Are you referring actually to people that have a college degree?
Oh, sure. So, I mean, when you come out of university, it's still just a horrible time. If you think you're going to come out of university and start a company that will be successful, you're very, very wrong. The only thing you really understand is university and hanging out with your friends. You understand very, very little about business in general. So you have very few options of the type of company that you can start that you really know anything about. You have to experience a pain point. You have to have a problem that means something to you. You have to be able to, you have to want to eat your own dog food, as we say. You would be the user of your own product or solution.
Okay. So enough problem about the founders. Let's switch to the investors.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So around the world, I see, particularly in the recent years, I see, you know, investors from other areas like you know, real estate. You know.
Yeah.
I never heard of, and they're bringing loads of money into the tech scene.
Yeah.
And
it's trendy.
Yeah, it's trendy, but given all these, you know, failure rate, really high failure rate on an early stage investment. So what do you think is the problem, or is there a way to fix this? I mean, what is necessary?
Well, there's two problems. I mean, there's way too much money now. Money is the easiest thing you can get. We have a lot of people coming in and trying to invest in early stage tech or early stage in general. One of the problems is they have not been entrepreneurs themselves, so they don't understand as much about. And they can't help you as much. They can't guide you as much because they've never been in your shoes. They just want to look at the data and ask you how much money did we make this week, and then next week they're going to call you and ask you the same thing, but they can't really kind of help you that much. They can just give you money. Now, another problem that I see in China is the fact that everybody is chasing money. You got up, you're a university student, you have an app. Rinchi said, what are you looking for? You said, well, you need investment, you need money. Money is the last thing you need. Absolute last thing you need right now. What you need is a solid team, you need to become experienced as an entrepreneur, and you need advisors, and you need a network of people to help you, grow and become a great entrepreneur. Money is everywhere. You can get money, but being somebody who can build a great product and a solution and be a great entrepreneur, that's where you need the help. That's where you need to focus your efforts. China wants more entrepreneurs. China wants to be a leader in innovation. But I think China needs to stop giving all the entrepreneurs so much money, because you have to fail. I'm sorry, but you have to fail. You have to fail once or twice to kind of really understand what it takes. There's no way to get around that learning. You have to fail. You have to fall off the horse in order to get back up and respect the fact that you might actually fall off the horse and do things a little bit differently. And so giving first-time entrepreneurs so much money, instead of kicking their ass in 3 months and teaching them a whole boatload of valuable lessons, you're extending them for 2 or 3 years. You're letting them be average for 2 or 3 years, because financially they don't have to hurry. They won't fail because they have money that they can keep pulling out of the bank account to keep their startup going.
They're not hungry.
They're not hungry. And so they make bad products. They develop very slowly as entrepreneurs. If China actually wants to make more entrepreneurs, give them less money, so that it forces them to have to get creative. It forces them to be hungrier. They have to hustle more, and they'll fail more often, but then they get to do it again and fail again, and they become much smarter. You need the machine to start pumping out entrepreneurs faster instead of slower.
Yeah, interesting. So that looks like there are a lot of faults on the investor side. So is there anything we can do? For example, you know, do you think it's viable to run some sort of investor?
You know what? You're never going to get rid
accelerator?
of them. I think the best thing you can do is educate these guys and educate entrepreneurs as to what's more important. And I mean, when you're looking for investment, the most important thing is not the money or your valuation of your company. It's who is the investor, and what do they know? What have they done in the past? What is their knowledge of the market, and what is their network like? A lot of people out there are willing to give you lots of money, and they'll make you a lot of promises, but you have to look into what they've done in the past. Have they been an entrepreneur before? Have they started a company and had to raise money? And have they done that a couple of times? Do they have a network? Do they work for a fund that has a history and a portfolio of companies that are similar to yours, so that they can really help provide you a lot of communications and data and potentially customers and brands and the rest of it? You need to do your homework. You know, I think the power is shifting and relies more in the good entrepreneurs' hands, because there's a lot of VCs out there and they're hunting big time for interesting startups, and that's great. So that means that you'll be able to find money, no problem. But you need to get choosy. You know, you need to get selective and choose the right people, because you're getting into bed with them. More than likely, they're going to take a board position, you know, a seat on your board. So they're going to be making decisions that will affect your company. So you need to have a good synergy, and you need to trust them, and they need to be knowledgeable.
Okay. So to conclude, you know, our talk, I would like to ask you one last question. So what is the single most important personal trait that you find, you know, you think is, you know, for a tech entrepreneur?
The single most important trait.
Trait, yeah, personal trait. Yeah.
I still just think it's hustle. Passion is very close, but it can't always be the case. But hustle, you just have to, you know, hard work, hustle, and just don't have an ego. You know, you've got to listen to everybody, be completely open, be purpose-driven, not profit-driven. There's a problem in the world that you're creating a solution for. Be committed to only wanting to find that solution, and let it develop and manifest itself however the market wants, however the investors want, however it takes shape and form. Your ego and the way you thought it was going to look doesn't matter to you. You're going to let it develop organically the way it should, so that most people's lives are getting better because of it. The only thing you care about is that the problem does get solved. And if you're just committed to that purpose, and you don't care how it looks, you don't care how you get there, as long as that solution becomes widely available, then you'll be much more successful, because you're going to let, I don't know, it's going to just develop and flower in its own right, the way that it should, the way that it would be most successful. I think, you know, those are the things I'm looking for. I think generally, there's more things, but that hustle and purpose-driven, not profit-driven, is very important to me.
Okay, thank you, Todd. And I think it's time for Q&A session. We start taking questions from the audience. 我们开始对。
Thank you, Chance.
Yeah.
How do you develop a solution? How long do you think it takes?
I think it's constantly evolving. I mean, really, until you know, until it's adopted by most people, it keeps going. Do you want to?
Like, is there some sort of structure to develop a solution for the target audience that you want to serve?
I don't know. I mean, you have to validate the target audience first. I mean, the very first thing you do is validate the problem. I mean, Yeah, so many people are like, oh, I'm going to make this, and it's going to be for these people, and they'll be able to do this and this and this. And then you go out, and then you go like into your university or something like that, and then you come back and it's like, yeah, God, I'm the only one who actually thought that was a good idea. Nobody else has that problem. You know, it was like, oh, I'm not eating a good breakfast in the morning, so I'm going to do a breakfast delivery service at my university for all the students who aren't having a good breakfast in the morning. And then you go out and you spend all this time and money developing it, and then you go to market and it's like, wow, yeah, actually people aren't really that concerned with breakfast. So, you know, they don't care if they eat a good breakfast or not. I guess I was the only one, and you wasted so much on things like this. So, I mean, there's a lot of validating early on before you make anything. But I mean, the solution will just develop through that honesty of just trying to focus on solving the problem, and then the solution will just, you know, what everybody tells you. You survey 100 people, you know, hey, you know, is this problem? Yeah, okay. And then you start talking to them more and more, and you know, what would they pay money for? And this is what you would pay money for? Okay, great. Now my solution, there it is. They told me what it was. I'm just the executioner. I'm just gonna make it happen, because not a lot of other people are willing to do that. Everybody walks around and complains. You want to come up with a good business idea? Just listen. Stop talking and just listen. Listen to what everybody is complaining about. When you start hearing people complain about something enough, or there's enough people complaining about something right now, that's a business opportunity, because there's so few people in this world that will actually take that and then go do something about it. Everybody else will just walk around complaining, but will never actually do anything about it. If when you hear the next person complain about it, it's like, if there was an app that solved that, would you pay 99 cents for it? And you get enough people that say, yes, I'd pay this for, you know, if there was a solution, I'd pay $100 for it. Be like, okay, fine. Now you've heard people, you know there's a problem, because you've heard enough people complain about it. You asked them if they'd pay for it. They all said they would. I mean, the next step would actually validate, you know, that payment. You know, ask them to, you know, say, okay, give me your email. I have a solution. I'll email you information about it. If they give you their email, that's currency right there. Lean startup stuff here, but I mean, that's currency that validates the fact that a problem exists, that people want a solution for, that they're willing to pay for because they gave you something of value to them. Phone number, email address, you know, even their time, even real money maybe. But you've now validated that that's a business potential. Sorry, Galina, got away from that.
So is there a way to kind of calculate, so there are early adopters, right, and other people don't necessarily want to try something new, right, but early adopters, they can try it. So is there a way to kind of figure out how many early adopters mean business in future, you know?
I think, you know, that's where the hustle then comes in, because you constantly have to get outside of your bubble, get outside of the building, have no fear, talk to random strangers and people on the street, and keep doing that. Keep throwing it against the wall, see what sticks all the time. You know, I don't think there's any one solution, because that's pretty broad. There's a lot of different industries, things we're talking about, but you know, it can be a lot of things.
我再说明一下，我是可以讲中文的，然后这个大家如果英文不好，可以用中文来提问，然后我可以负责就是双向的就辅助你们沟通。
He'll translate.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, maybe one question, Todd. Maybe could you explain a little bit more about the process that you have to have people admitted to the program, and what the program will look like for them on, let's say, a day-to-day basis?
Okay, so we accept applications. We'll go through them. You know, we'll probably cut it down to 25% of the applications. We'll actually reach out to the rest. Well, thanks for applying, but you know, you didn't make it this time. Hope to see you again. And then we'll kind of funnel everything into you know, basically just a spreadsheet on Google Drive, which we all start entering notes, and I set up Skype calls with other partners in the fund, who will then just, you know, take a 30-minute Skype call with you and ask you a bunch of their questions that they might have, and they'll put all the notes, and we'll do a score basically online, and then as we find ones that, yep, no brainer, this guy should be in, okay, then we start sending offers. And as soon as we get 12 accepted offers or 10 accepted offers, then we shut it down and, you know, thank everybody else, apply next time, and we go. Day to day, you come in. You know, early on, it's a little front-end heavy on a lot of sessions, and we do a lot of workshops because we're setting expectations for the rest of the program, and there's a lot of things that we need to kind of get out of the way early on. And then we do, you know, we do weekly meetings. We got in trouble a couple of times in the program where the startups wanted more free time because they have stuff to do, basically. They have work to do, and we were taking too much of their time to put them in different sessions and things. But, you know, the first month is a lot of, you know, validation, getting out of the building. Before you go and put so much work in building your solution, please go and validate that what you're doing is completely necessary. You know, it's like you're building this beautiful, you know, iPhone app, you know, for blah, 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 this and that or whatever, and then you go out and you realize, oh my God, China's 80% Android. How the hell did I not know that? You know, so it was like a horror. So you need, first of all, get rid of any chance that you could be wrong about any of your assumptions about your problem, your customers, and your solution, and just keep making sure every step of the way and validating, and then, you know, build, measure, learn, and do that for the first month. Then the second month, now it's build time. Now we devote resources, and we start really diving into building a robust prototype based on what we learned in the first month. And then the third month is a lot of presentation and pitch practice, learning how to sell, learning how to do presentation, public speaking, putting together a very nice pitch deck. This is much more important than you originally think it is. You cannot be a horrible presenter. It's just not going to work in this industry. And then a lot of the finance, because we hope that you're at a stage where you're going to start raising money. So we start getting into term sheets, understanding the VC mindset, terminology, legalities of incorporation and taking money, banking, all this kind of stuff. So prepping you so that when you do leave the program, you are ready to kind of walk on your own and continue on, because you'll have a lot of investors and be doing a lot of meetings and things, and we need you to be knowledgeable so that you don't make a mistake in that time. That's kind of how it goes.
Thanks.
Okay. Todd, may I ask you to share?
No.
I get it right. This would be the third year, I mean, coming for the China Accelerator program, right?
Fourth.
Fourth, okay. Could you share maybe the past 3, years, like what the companies, going out, from the program, and how, they basically they develop or
Right, okay, so half are dead or dying, which is good because usually it's 90% would die of a startup. So we can elevate that to 50% survival rate. And then, so of the survivors, 80% have raised money. Now, there are a few outliers of companies that are self-funded. They're bootstrapping, they're making money, they don't need funding. PictoChart is an excellent example of a very successful company that they don't need money, and they're not going to raise money, which is good for us because our 6% is still 6%. We haven't been diluted. That's awesome. I wish I was a partner back then. But some companies are just purely just joined the accelerator, not because they wanted to raise money, but because they needed our network and needed our relationships. Okay, so we, one of our partners heavily invests in a lot of oil rigs and oil and gas industry out of Ireland. He's got a lot of connections in this field, especially in Houston and things like this. So they were a Russian team. They're building, like I said, the oil reservoir simulation software, and they don't need money. They're never going to take investment, but they needed our relationships in order to help get some customers and get some good board advisors from the oil and gas industry to really help them build a good product and give them sales channels and introductions to all the companies that would end up being their customers. So I mean, there's different reasons, and not everybody raises, but you know, it's been pretty good. I mean, you know, we are in the business of killing companies as much as we are helping companies survive, because we're not in the business of helping mediocre companies survive any longer than they should. As soon as we realize that this is kind of just not really going to go anywhere quickly, fine, kill it. Next thing, you know, inside the program. Alexis something Armenian. Do you know how to say it? What is it? Ohanian, yeah. So Alexis Ohanian and his friend drove up to Boston in spring break to see a speech by Paul Graham. And they got a hold of Paul Graham, they met him, they talked to him, and they're like, yeah, we think this is going to be something that's really into. And so they had like, it was like a mobile menu thing for smartphones, actually, before smartphones were even around. So anyway, so Paul Graham said, we're going to do this Y Combinator thing. It's an accelerator. Here's the basic concept. You should apply. So they did, and they applied. And they got turned down. And so the next day, Paul Graham called him up and said, you know what, I'm really, really sorry about that. That sucks, you know, I mean, you know, it's just, we just don't feel that which is the name of the product at the time, it was just MMM, and they call it it was, you know, is good now, you know, like, but however, we really like you guys. So if you would be willing to work on something else, we'll bring you into the program, okay? So I mean, you know, it's about people. Paul Graham loved those guys. They were hustlers. They took their spring break. Everybody else went to Miami. They drove up to freezing cold, you know, Boston, and went to a conference just to see him speak. They hustled after the conference to get personal conversation with him and convinced him and offered to buy him a coffee so that they could pitch him an idea. And he had so much respect for that he wanted them in the program. No idea what they're going to work on, but together with a lot of industry knowledge and past experience and investing and seeing what works and what doesn't, and where there's some gaps and some niches and some new things going on, they were able to come together and collaborate on something. So that may have been missing the personal passion point, but it really hit on the hustle and the quality of the entrepreneur that was there, that you know, were just very talented people who had the right mindset.
And he trusted their ability to execute whatever idea.
Execution is everything. That's why we don't even worry about copycats. You know, something else very big here, but we don't. You know, don't ever ask us to sign an NDA, okay? Because your idea is so unique and it's so revolutionary. You're going to completely disrupt and innovate in this industry and everything. But you have to sign like a non-disclosure agreement, like. Get out of here. Like, I don't even want to talk to you. Like, you know, this, you're not ready to be that. There's no ideas worth it. All of us have a million ideas every day about potential companies, but the ones who actually jump in the pool and it's all about execution. There's going to be copycats, fine. Maybe it's going to be a big company. Maybe Tencent's going to copy you. Great, but you're small. You're faster. You can make changes quicker. You're nimble. Take advantage of that. It's going to be about execution. The best execution will always win.
Oh, Ilya.
I have a question about this ego thing. Speaking about ego,
Yeah.
and previously speaking about people who need to be passionate about things, right?
Yeah.
Personal.
Yeah.
Where is the distinction between these two things? Because ego is growing on the things you doing yourself and you're passionate about it too, right?
No, not really. I mean, when I say ego, I mean that you want to do it your way. You know, you have a vision of how the solution will look. And if it's not done your way, then you're going to have less passion for it, because, like, well, I wanted to do it this way, but you guys want to do it that way, fine, go ahead, whatever, I don't want to care.
So that was
Do it your way. I mean, there's like, you know, like, you get upset that it's not your way. And this is what I'm saying, don't care about how it looks, because whatever the best way is, because your passion relies on solving and having the purpose of solving, of creating a solution to that problem, however it looks. You don't care how it looks, so you have no ego. It's like you don't know more than anybody else. You will let everybody, and you will soak up information, especially in something like China Accelerator, where we bring so many mentors at your disposal. And I'll sit there and I'll watch, and everybody will be in there, and there'll be people too shy, you know, or they'll be, you know, not really interested, or they'll think this person isn't specifically knowledgeable about my industry, so I'm not really going to bother talking to him because he can't help me right now. And I'm like, that is such a short-term vision. We'll have a great mentor come in who knows a lot about finance and teaching you about the pen. And the technical, the CTO guy will go, well, I'm a programmer. I don't care about the finances. I'm not going to go to that session. Again, bad decision. Bad decision. You have an opportunity to freely engage and understand something very important to startup and to business from an expert, but because you don't think it's relevant to yourself, you don't go. You're not a hustler. You're not eager for information. You're not just letting everybody educate and just soak it up like a sponge. I think those are big mistakes. I just, and your ego, again, is getting in the way. I don't know. Is that...
So it's all about the target mission, right?
Pardon?
Target mission. So your mission should be not about you, but about the story.
That's right.
Okay.
It's absolutely not about you, I think.
Yeah. The gentleman over there.
I have a question here. So I actually graduated from the University of California. I was studying engineering, but I want to do
Trojans.
media
Louder.
thing.
University of California.
The new media thing. So
UFC.
just in your speech, I just want to raise a question about like how to test the validation of the idea. So if I have a bright idea or something,
Yeah.
I think I should have.
Yeah.
What is the most effective way to test this idea?
Lean startup.
What's the most effective way to test this idea?
Lean startup methodologies, I think, is still the best.
Can you explain that?
Okay, Steve Blanks, Eric Rice, Lean startup methodology. It's basically building a minimum viable product, or like an MVUP, which would be a minimum viable usable product. And it depends if you're talking about hardware, software, different things. You can throw in different words, but it's basically you would, as fast as possible, to validate whether you have something the market wants and it actually solves a problem that people have, that people will actually pay for, that is actually scalable, that is actually investable and is doable. You know, all these, and it's the right time to do it, all these kinds of things. And it's basically, instead of wasting time building the perfect solution in what you think it is, you go out and you just, you develop the problem, and you just validate. And I mean, Lean Startup principles are very much about this. There's a canvas that you use, and the first thing you do is you go out and you make sure everybody has the problem. Okay, great. And then you think, okay, well, this is my perfect customer. You know, she's 27, she has red hair, she's from the Philippines, which is weird, because she has dyed hair, and then she lives in San Francisco, and you know, she's a mother of 2, but she's a single mother. You know, she was an only child. Like you absolutely dream up every possible detail or something like this, and then you go out and try and validate whether you're right or wrong. And then all that validation and surveying will actually bring back to you, and it will deliver to you who your actual customer is, because you'll find that people will be interested to talk to you, interested to ask you more, and give you validation that that is a customer. And then they may not be the person that you thought it was. And this is the whole point. You go out and then you come back, and your team goes out and come back, and you compare notes, and you go, wow, we were really very wrong about this, because it's actually 57-year-old males. Wow, we had no idea that they were interested in brassieres or something. I don't know, whatever. And so it's just a totally, it's all this validation, and you can do it very, very quickly and very, very lean, meaning not spending much time or much energy, and it's focused, laser focused on just making sure that you're on the right path. And you constantly are validating all the time, and you go back and you do your 2.0, and then you go back out and you validate, and you think, I mean, the iPhone was a very good example of this, where somebody building something that didn't have an ego. They had the 1.0 iPhone, and it went out and everybody killed it. It was awful. It was such a horrible piece of crap. What is Apple getting into telecommunications for? Why are they doing a phone? This is the worst piece of shit ever. Then they released the 2.0. Oh my God, a little bit better, but still so bad. But so many people are still buying it because it's interesting and they want to see if it's better. And so they're kind of building up this actually an early adopter user base that is giving them all this valuable feedback. And Apple knows that, and they're just really smart, because you know, maybe BlackBerry's trying to make the perfect phone, and they're taking 2 years to make it. Meanwhile, every 6 months, Apple's putting out a new phone, but all they're doing is testing the market. Everybody's writing blogs about it, and it's in articles, and I mean, they know. They've got like all this data, like, wow, we understand exactly what people don't like about the phone, and we can make it better. 6 months later, they put out the 3, you know, and then the 3 is actually pretty good. And then they put out the 3S and the 3GS, and wow, like, now this is a great product. This 3GS is wicked, but they released like 4 iterations before that, and that everybody just wanted to have and comment and make fun of and just totally kill in the media. And all Apple did was like, yeah, awesome. You're just telling us what you're going to pay for. Great. Now we'll make it, and you'll buy it, and we'll make lots of money, and that's awesome. And so that's what they did. Yeah, it's.
So when you talk about that, it also takes time and money. And
what does?
Usually
What takes time and money?
The testing. The testing.
Of what?
The testing of the idea.
Fake it.
You fake it.
Make it out of wood and go show it to people. See if they like it. I don't know. I mean, you could wireframe up, you know, like we talk about making a dummy website or wireframing a Flash app instead of actually doing it in Android or iOS, just to let people play with it and see if they like it. You know, I mean, yeah. Well, if you want to be a beta user, give me your email address and I'll send you the link later. And they're like, yeah, okay. And they gave you currency and they validated. Bam, you know that what you got is something that people like because he gave you something. You might use it as spam, so they're not going to want to give you their email address. It's kind of personal. They don't even know who you are. Maybe it's going to be some, you know, ID fraud or something like this. But they gave it to you anyway, and all you did was wireframe an app out of Flash and proved your point. That's what we're talking about lean. You know, then you can do it very, very fast. Instead of wasting time building something that people may or may not want, prove it first.
I was just thinking that there might be some gap between what you can do and what you want to do. And you may have a very bright idea that may take a lot of resources and time and money, but you don't know from the beginning. You have passion and you have a team, but you don't know how to
get creative, figure out how to test and validate it, and get a network, do an accelerator program, and bounce it off all of the mentors and all of the smart people that are involved there, who have been in the game longer than you have and seen a lot more products and understand a lot more about the market than you do, and get their advice and their feedback.
Hey, Wendy, questions?
Hey Todd, I have a special question for you.
Okay.
I just forget about startups management or investment, whatever. I focus on users. So what did you do when you were 15? And do you know what they are doing today? I mean young people who are 15. 15,
sure. Yeah. Okay. I'm a little bit lost. Okay, so what could young people do at 15 years old in order to? Yeah, I don't get it.
Since you invest in so many companies,
okay.
And I think
15 or so.
Yeah, I think they should have they should serve for the young people. So do you know what the young people are doing? Tips, best friends forever.
Oh wow! Can somebody translate that? Does anybody know what the question is?
说中文吧。
OK。就是说你现在知不知道那些年轻的用户们喜欢做什么？首先第一个问题就是你在15岁的时候在做什么？第二个问题就是说你知不知道年轻的用户，比如说现在15岁的小朋友他们在做什么？
Oh, actually, there are two questions. First one is, what were you doing when you were 15? And the second question is, what? 第二个问题是这个。
现在15岁的
Now, what are the 15-year-old are doing now?
Is it more based on what type of products or business ideas you probably get, you know, on the table where other people are working on? So.
Well, okay. The first question: what was I doing when I was 15? That one I can answer. I believe I was in grade 9. I was in high school, and at 15, which was I doing? I was, I was doing dishes. I was a dishwasher at a restaurant, part-time. Yeah, that was just before I got my driver's license, so I couldn't deliver pizza yet, which is what I did next. Yeah, I did. No, I was a dishwasher at a restaurant. Yeah, sometimes very, very late, actually. It's kind of a bar slash restaurant. But yeah, that's what I was doing, and playing a hell of a lot of sports, actually. Yeah, trying to meet girls.
然后你第二个问题是，你第二个问题是不是想问他现在的15岁的人在想怎么做什么？ What do you think the 15-year-old now is doing and what?
Trying to meet girls. Yeah, I mean, in China or anywhere or.
In general, probably. Yeah, he asked a general question. Yeah, you can answer.
Yeah, in general, I don't know. Probably trying to learn how to shave. You know, going like, what is happening with my body? You know, I don't know. You know, a lot of things. You know, I mean, your hormones are going crazy and all these kinds of things. But you know, you're probably playing a lot of video games and you know, trying to do a lot of things that your parents don't know about. You know, I think, you know, try and get creative. If I were to give advice to a 15-year-old, I would say start a company. Figure out, you know, what kids at your high school are doing. I mean, you know, a good friend of mine, Ryan Holmes, John knows him, we grew up in the same town. Ryan Holmes is now the CEO of a company called Hootsuite. And Hootsuite brings all your social medias together onto one platform, so you can manage them all. Like you publish one thing, it goes to all your social medias at the same time. It has a nice dashboard and everything. They just raised $165 million in August. It's the largest raise ever, or something. It would set a record at that time. In high school, when we were 16, he started selling paintballs. You know paintball? It's the game that has a little ball of paint, and it's the color, you know, and you shoot people. So he sold these little balls of paint. So he would buy a huge amount from a big surplus store, and then he would count like 50 and put them in a little bag, and then bring them to school and sell them for much more money to all of his friends at high school, who liked to do paintball, which a lot of people were really doing a lot of, you know, back then. So he was finding a way to try and start a company to make money. And that's like, I don't know, guess what I would do? I mean, I'll do that with my kids. I want them to start, you know, a company every year, something, even when they're 5. You know, make some lemonade, go on the street, maybe make a little sign and things, and sit and from one Saturday when it's sunny and hot, sell some lemonade. I don't know.
I can recommend a Kidpreneur for you. It's a website for kids.
Oh, really?
So that it's never too early to become an entrepreneur.
It's not. I'll look at that. I want that. Send it to me. What else? Come on.
Yes, just like you mentioned that you have invested in many companies, right? And half of them are dying.
Yes,
so
or
can
dead.
you share with us why they are dying? What are the main reasons that
You know, there's a lot of reasons though. Like, and that's the thing.
Reason, the top 3 reasons.
The top 3 reasons. Generally, I think because the founders, the people. Not everybody should be an entrepreneur. Really. Not everybody should be an entrepreneur. There's a lot of people being entrepreneurs that need to work for companies. And a lot of people work for companies that probably should be entrepreneurs. But I think anybody can be a company, but it's really hard, you know, and you can't always survive in certain situations. I mean, we had a company break up in, you know, some examples, okay? It was actually a boyfriend and girlfriend. And they joined our program doing a company. And halfway through the program, guess what? They broke up. So the company died. You know, I mean, it's never a good idea. You really should start a company with your significant other. It's just not a good idea. So another one, had a company come in, and what we didn't realize was their capitalization table was a mess. Was completely disaster, and that the people actually involved with the company, that needed a lot of change. You had a person who had gotten half the company, but they weren't actually involved in the company, and it was a startup. They were just advising. They were like a mentor who had half the company because the founder had given them half the company thinking it was a good idea, and it wasn't because they couldn't raise any money. Nobody would invest because that person didn't put in any time into the company, and they didn't put any money into the company. They had no passion for the company, and no investor wants to give money to a company that doesn't have people, the most passionate people have all the equity, is what should happen. So that killed it. Other people, the market changes. You know, it just, I don't know, whatever it could be. You know, you're doing a taxi share, you know, you're not doing a taxi sharing app. You're doing a car, you know, a special car ordering app where you can order a special car to come pick you up, and it's, you know, it's doing really great, and then Uber comes into China and kills you, and you just die. So there's market implications and competitive implications and economic, you know, there's so many things. I've had a company die because the CTO was Chinese, and his family stopped talking to him because they wanted him to leave the company and go work for a real estate company because his father had gotten him a good job opportunity with a real estate company. If he did not leave the startup and go work for that real estate company, his family stopped talking to him. So he had to go. I mean, there's a lot of things, man. It's really random, which is why we try to reduce the risk of our investment first by doing a 3-month program and working with you. We want to see everything. We want to see when your girlfriend breaks up with you, how do you respond? You know, I mean, when, you know, I don't know, just so many things. You know, how do you work with your team? Do you show up on time? Are you an alcoholic? I mean, you know, there's just a lot of things that we don't know that could get in the way that I think 3 months spending a lot of quality time with you would really tell us whether we can really do business together or not.
就是说，现在互联网对 O2O 这概念非常就是火热，就是我想问一下透露先生，就是他对 O2O 这概念是怎么理解？还有就是他心中所需要的 O2O 概念是怎么去运作的这种模式？
Yeah, there is a lot of internet products that are based on the idea of online to offline. What are your understanding of on this train of product, you know, development?
I don't have much of an understanding. I realize that's your business, which is probably why you're asking the question. I'm not a great person to ask that question of. I don't specifically care too much about you know, online to offline things. I mean, it absolutely has zero bearing on whether you should continue doing your company or not. You're going to make a good company, you're going to make a good company, and it's going to be successful because you're going to make it successful. If you worry about whether, you know, the market and these kinds of things, and other people think about the industry and some things like this or whatever, you're already in trouble, okay? I mean, you need the passion, you are going to do it. There is a problem out there. If you're just doing the solution because you think there's an opportunity, that's going to be easily killed. And I know you have to translate, so I'll stop.
Okay.
You should translate because he doesn't understand what I said.
他觉得他觉得这个都是他不关心的问题。首先他自己没有这方面的经验，也没办法告诉你，就直接回答你。但是他觉得最重要的还是他刚才说的这些判断啊，这个你的整个对市场的这个验证啊，这些就标准的这种就验证一个从验证市场到客户到最终怎么去让你的产品走上正轨的一个过程。对。
I want everybody here to learn something.
他是觉得你这样去看一个产品，或者其实是比较狭隘的。如果你老觉得我要搞 O2O 赚钱，其实是挺狭隘的。对。我从我自己公司就是印美图的成长过程，我自己也可以告诉你这个，我们不知道自己在做 O2O 的，我们从来没跟任何投资人说我印美图是做 O2O 的，我们就是做一个体验，这个体验消费者喜欢，因为消费者喜欢，所以很多广告公司认为它是一个。对，因为他喜欢了，所以它是一个有效的一个东西。
I'm good.
所以他的客户又会投资这个，因为它是一个媒体。对。
Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, I want everybody to kind of learn something, and I mean, I'm not going to sit here and talk about specific industries. You know, I'm not like Lei Jun or Pony Ma who's going to speak very specifically about certain technologies and things like that. I'm more or less trying to analyze. All of you are maybe burgeoning or like almost thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, have some ideas, are interested in entrepreneurship. I want to encourage you from the beginning to have the right idea of being an entrepreneur, to encourage you to try, to not be afraid to fail, to show people an awful product, but do it only because you want them to tell you what they don't like about it, because that's the best way to learn. And to try and get the right philosophy and encourage you to do it, and go to more events like this, support Startup Grind, other startup events, you know, go to them, learn from them, and start looking for the resources that are available to you, like reading startup books and listening to startup podcasts and attending more events, reading popular news, you know, Tech in Asia, TechNode, 36KR, 17 Startups, Entrepreneur Magazine, you know, and start following certain people on I guess, Weibo and things like that. Be active and become an expert in what you're interested in. Brand yourself. Start blogging what you're learning. Get people following you. Do all these kinds of things. You know, even if it's just an Instagram, do that. You know, but just kind of get into it and start following and be interested. It'll come to you. It'll come to you.
Hey, Wendy, Mom.
Hello, I am the university student.
The university student.
I
thought there was more. I don't know why. I didn't realize there was one in China.
It cost me a low price come here, and so I think it encouraged young people to come here to meet and many successful people in their society. So I want some practical suggestions for our young students, the young people, what we can do to practically to become the people, because you say people in your area. People is the most important thing. Like the characteristic, the passion, and attitude, and so on. I want to know that I want to know some practical information what we can do to become those people. Thank you.
To be better, yeah. You know, it's. Even all that is, I mean, even having lots of passionate stuff can still just drive you down the wrong path unless you have a lot of other things as well, okay? So it's not the be-all and end-all. It's not perfect. I think just generally being creative, trying to get over your fear, okay? And trying something. Try something small, you know, with a few of your friends. Start a... You know, like a Taobao store or something, or you know, trying to understand, because there's so much to learn, and you know, you can't read it all. You have to experience it. So just try selling something. Figure out how Taobao works and how e-commerce works, and how to get followers and users. That's what I mean. I mean, find something you're really interested in. Start an Instagram account that is branded not yourself, but you know, like. You know, Insta Fitness or Insta Fashion or something, you know, on there, and start posting the things you like. You know, if you like fashion or you like comic books or video games or things like this, start following, start reading it, and then delivering all the information and seeing if people will follow you or something like this. You know, get creative and understand how to, you know, whether it's, you know, attracting users or attracting customers, which means getting people to follow you, or figure out, you know, maybe you want to make a simple, you know, Android app and then put it on the App Store, and just figure out how all that works. You know, how do we actually put an app onto an App Store? What does it take? You know, what are the requirements, and how does it all work? Just very simple little things of just different aspects of a business. But get together with your friends and throw it around, and then at your university, start an entrepreneur club, and you know, that does entrepreneur events, and invite people like me or Carol or Chance or whoever to come by and talk and do some teaching and do some fun events that help encourage and understand more entrepreneurship. Be a bit of a leader in this area. There's a lot of things you can do, but you know, just get creative. Just don't do nothing. That's it.
Thank you.
It's just, I mean, and remember, guys, this is all one person's advice, okay? And that's the other thing. This is just all my personal ideas. I'm not right. I'm just me. And this is, you all need to understand that as well. And especially in the program, even with all the mentors aren't right. I'm not completely right about everything I'm saying today. I know that. I deliver it with a lot of passion and conviction, and I make you think I'm right. But I'm not right about everything. I'm probably quite wrong about a lot of what I've said, but I know that. But I'm trying, and I'll throw it out there, and I might be wrong. And in 2 weeks, you might say, boy, you were really wrong, because that's not right. And, okay, fine, whatever. At least I tried. You know, remember that too.
Okay, okay, yeah. Go on.
I thought you just say that little money gives the project and the director hungry, keep them hungry. And how much money you give to the project?
We give 10万钱，10万
，10万块，对，10万
，100,000。
多少股份？占多少股份？还有就是说占多少股份的？
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's a question I want to ask. You know, what are generally the China accelerators, you know, equity or deal structure they offer all the, you know?
Yeah, it's 6%.
6%.
We give you the program.
And 10万块 for 6%.
Oh, hell no.
Oh, no more than that. Oh, of course.
No.
Not just the money. Oh.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I mean.
I mean, for us, we're giving you a program. I'm expensive. They have to pay my salary, okay? And then I'm working for you during the program. So there's that. I mean, there's the whole program. There's the office, there's the rent, there's the trips, there's all the mentors. We pay for their flights and hotels to bring them in. We have the demo day. We pay for the space and the venue and all that. I mean, that just costs like 30,000 renminbi out itself, just for demo day, that we pay for. You know, we cover a lot of expenses. We give you some cash, but that is not a cash investment into your company. That is money for you to survive so that you don't have to work while you're in the program. So that you can buy food, pay rent, maybe outsource a little bit of things, maybe travel, go see some customers, do some things you got to do to basically be financially able to do everything that's most important to spending all of your energy on building your company during the program. But it is not a cash investment in your company. The program is the investment, and all the networking and the mentorship and everything that's involved is for the 6%.
Okay. Another question is that maybe I can't present my project in English, but my teammates, maybe they are not very good at English. If these guys or this project is fit for the China,
your English is good enough.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's also okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how can we talk to each other?
Just like we're doing now. It's okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm the worst Chinese speaker of everybody involved with China K Accelerator. All the mentors, they've all been in China for 10 or 20 years, all the foreigners or whatever. All their Chinese is way better than mine. Yeah, I'm the worst, actually. It's not a problem.
Okay.
I mean, communication is very important, but we can figure out how to communicate. It's fine. Yeah.
最后一个问题哦，对 ，OK，last question。
last question. Yeah. From your point of view, how you compare the startups here in China with maybe some other startups you see overall? I mean, other places.
Yeah, I'm pretty immature. Generally, I mean, it's just the nature of the environment. I mean, you know, they're just so much more advanced. They're just so much more knowledgeable about being an entrepreneur, and they're much faster. You know, they move much quicker. They know better what to do and who to talk to, how to get shit done fast. They're just, you know, they're just better. They have better practice. You know, it's just they're definitely much more advanced. So.
You mean in terms of communication skills, and compare that to the Chinese ones? The Western founders tend to be more communicative.
Well, they're faster.
They're faster.
Yeah, because they can iterate faster. They can fail faster. They know how to open doors faster. They have a more sophisticated understanding of where to go and do market research, and they have a more sophisticated understanding of what's important to do now and what's not important to do now. They don't fumble around as much. And their ideas are more advanced because they're more knowledgeable about markets and industries a little bit more, and you know, their work ethic is actually higher. So
thank you very much. I think that's what we conclude